Either way, fun and
Either way,
joyous.
now we're recording, and
Yeah, that way I don't
yeah,
have to clip
like
all that out.
we our areas of expertise are fitness and nutrition, not technology. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of that, so in our last episode, we talked about the workout things that we are currently doing to try to kind of get ourselves going for the new year. A lot of other people that we've talked to at this time of year, we're still um, late January, early February when this podcast is coming out, have been trying to lose weight for typically the first month of the year, 1 to 2 months, and then some people keep up with that goal. Some people have to pivot to a new goal. And in our last episode, we talked about some of the crazy workout that Matt was doing with all of his incredible number of sets, and my just get one workout a week. So Matt has now moved away from the 52 sets in a
Hey,
week,
not yeah, yeah. Moved away from 52. Yeah, we're
from
like
52 sets
52
per
to
body
40.
part per week. Um, and I've continued on with the one workout a week, try to get it in. Fun thing, I just got the other parts of my kettlebells. So now I have 2 sets and three. I have a set, so two per weight for 3 different weight variations of kettlebells. So that's going to help out with a lot of things in the kettlebell side of stuff. Um, but so Matt, what workout program are you currently doing right now?
The where we talked about where I kind of dropped off, it's similar to what I was doing with the 52 sets, but then dropping off to about 40 sets for the larger muscle groups a week, and then roughly 20 to 24 sets for smaller muscle groups a week.
Right.
So I was training 6 days a week. Planning on continuing that as we record this on January 17th. I'm planning on continuing that through the probably the end of this month and doing a deload and then doing something a little bit more sustainable, which I think is something that a lot of people don't think about is like sustainability within a programming. Like, yeah, I can do this for a month. But then I'm gonna have to back off for a little bit, give my joints a rest, just give myself a rest because it's intensive and like it's working. Like I posted on my personal page the other day, like as far as like body fat percentage is pretty much maintaining, muscle mass is going up, but like I don't feel comfortable at the muscle mass I am at now. Like it's just it's a we talked about before, like with people losing and like they don't like how they felt or looked and like decided, okay, let's pivot it. Like anytime I get around this size, like I get a little bit kind of soft in the midsection, as you do with the bulk. I think a lot of times people don't think about that, but just I feel bulky, so just like I'm not like comfortable. But
Okay.
but like I like the way my chest and arms and shoulders look, and I don't like the way my lower back and knees feel after 40 sets of of quad and hamstrings during the
Yeah.
week. But yeah, so it's kind of multifaceted. Again, it's risk versus reward, which I talk about a lot with a lot of my clients.
Yeah. That's all to be expected. And when it comes to that level of fatigue, that's kind of what Matt's talking about. Once you've gone through this amount of fatigue, whether it's um, the physical strain with his muscles, the central nervous fatigue of doing this program for the period of time, or the mental fatigue, which is different than central nervous system, right? So those two same things separate there. That's where like a deload comes in. So Matt's talking about just backing off the weights or sets for a small period of time. One of the other things we've talked about this before on this podcast is taking a diet break. So sometimes people need a break, and there's a lot of evidence behind that. And we went through the very specific math calculation of how to calculate your diet break in that
God,
episode.
yeah, it's like the Zach Galifianakis meme of like from The Hangover. Like, yeah, it's yeah, that episode's fantastic. If you are a math nerd, go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you that are not math nerds, head on over to franchisenf.com. It's out for your free meet and greet, and we'll just do that calculation for you. so that way you don't have to do all that extra work.
You don't have to worry about carrying the one. We will carry the one for you.
Right, right. But in that, so there's some recent studies that came out, and this is kind of more where I wanted to go with today's episode is in the nutrition side of things with protein specifically. So I get asked questions about protein a lot. And we've gone over that. You can go back to multiple episodes.
3 grams per pound of body weight, right? Like that's what we're
Yep,
doing.
that's what you got to get, man. Definitely, the more the better.
You just got to eat protein until you throw up. All right.
Right, yeah. All carnivore all day long. No, actually not true. Don't recommend that at all. Enjoy your
I know.
hypertriglyceridemia.
Yeah, nobody like just like sound bite that of like where I just said 3 grams per pound. And like, oh, Matt Sell said like, no,
No,
no, no.
Matt and Ryan said 3 grams per pound and carnivore all day long is great. Yeah, definitely. That we're just joking. However, jokes aside, what do you recall, Matt, was the maximum number of grams of protein for muscle protein synthesis per meal?
Max per meal. I know we were talking about roughly about for men our size, like about 40 grams per meal, right? Like kind of
Right.
that 40 to
It can
50.
get up there. It's based off
Yeah.
of how big you are. So, like, the smaller you are, the less it would be calculable for that. Interesting new studies that have come out in the last couple of months. So, two different ones suggest that there is no upper limit.
I'm glad you mentioned this because I was just literally reading this study like a week ago. So yeah.
Yeah. So, they suggest that there is no upper limit.
Which I find intriguing because, like, the bro sciencey thing for so long was like, just gorge yourself on protein. You can take it in a meal, and then a lot of the research was suggesting, hey, there were upper limits to it. So, like we were talking about, and then now to go, no, like, all right, like those shakes in Arnold's Modern Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding that are like 100 grams of protein in a shake, like your body could theoretically utilize all of that.
Right. And what I'd like to point out, and this would be, kind of quintessential for our audience, um, in those recent studies where it's saying there's no upper limit for um, the muscle protein synthesis and the amount of protein that you can consume that could go towards muscle building. One of those studies was done in vivo, so like in a petri dish for humans using utilizing human cells. So not in like an actual human randomized placebo controlled study. However, there's another study done that was people, and the study is very good in that it gave people a specified amount of protein pre workout, blood draw, workout, blood draw, biopsies on either side, more blood draws and biopsies post workout. And so that's where they came in with 100 grams of protein consumed. And then how long afterwards is muscle protein synthesis effective? And what that study suggests, and I'll link the study in the notes there, is that, 100 grams of protein at a single sitting could be effective at building muscle. The reason why I want to emphasize the suggest part of it is that the individuals in the study were completely untrained individuals. And in other studies that are out there with using a similar thing, that's where it brings it down to that 30 to 40 grams. It's those individuals that are trained, your body's kind of, for lack of a better term, saturated with your muscle proteins, have been built up. You've been doing a lot of work. You've been exercising for a long period of time. Your body doesn't necessarily need all of that sum of protein, that 100 grams in a sitting, to build new muscle, because it's gotten better at building muscle over the time that you've been training.
I'll always tell people that it's a gift and a curse that our bodies are very efficient and very adaptable. Like it's like, hey, like the stuff you see initially when you're starting a strength training program or starting a nutrition program doesn't stay the same if you're staying consistent.
Right. And so, in reference to our workouts that we were talking about earlier, Matt talked about his current body size and the workouts that he'd been doing versus me. If we went side by side comparison right now, and I started working out more and consuming more protein up to 100 grams, I might be able to catch up to Matt in, you know, a few months and have a similar amount of muscle on me as Matt does right now. Whereas if we're consuming the same amount of protein, I'm going to build faster. Matt may not change at all. Like he might stay almost exactly the same because he's been more trained than I have.
I'm just trying to think like what 100 grams of protein looks like as far as like taking that in a meal, even just in a shake form. That's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot
If
sitting in
it's
my
a
stomach.
shake, that's
It's like
roughly 4.5
four, yeah.
scoops. Plus what, well, I guess it depends on the liquid that you put it in. And if you put it all in a shake, you would need more than 8 ounces of fluid
Oh, absolutely.
because it would be too thick, like
Yeah,
to consume
yeah,
as a
it's
shake.
just
You'd
like
be
you have like a
spooning.
yeah, have like a protein shake jello shot. Just like
Mm, ah, the thought of the mouthfeel makes me a little nauseated.
like can you just get like a shooter girl to give it to you after like
Would it even be worth it? The other way to think about it would be like 3.5 burger patties, which would still be difficult to like chow down and then go work out.
right.
Like, it's,
You mean you don't eat triple cheeseburgers before you head to the gym every day?
no, no. I wish I could. I would also, if I went to the gym, I'd probably bypass it and have to go to the bathroom at some point in time. Um, deal with all
Yeah,
of that.
do a different kind of squat. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but as far as people that are listening to the podcast, if you started listening during the fat loss series that we just recently completed and you've been losing weight, it would probably benefit you to switch out some of your carbohydrates and fats you've been consuming for a little bit more protein to help not only build muscle but also maintain it if this is something that's new to you. Now, if you've been training for a long time and you just started a fat loss phase at the beginning of the year, that increased protein, while it may benefit you some, you're going to get greater benefits in the swap, if that makes sense. So it's not the greater protein for you building muscle, but the swap of those calories and getting that thermic effect of food, especially if it's for a fat source. Your body does more work to break down protein than it does to break down fat. So you're gonna quote unquote burn some more calories in quote with the increased amount of protein. But really, if you've been training for a long period of time, that those new studies that suggest you can consume whatever amount of protein, really not going to help you build more muscle in the long run. So, um, what I like to think about into what's one of the questions in the studies is does this dispel the distribution of protein across the day? What do you think, Matt?
Repeat that for me one more time. I
Do
like
these
it was what
studies dispel the previous thought of protein distribution across a day?
no. No, because like it's talking about untrained individuals. Like I still think the best thing to do would be to break up your protein into similar serving sizes throughout the day. Like again, because like if nothing else, like we just talked about how difficult it would be to consume 100 grams of your protein in one sitting. Like I still think it's best for me personally and for the clients I work with to break it up into smaller portions.
Oh yeah, definitely. I completely agree that I I feel like still, and we've talked about this before, the hardest time that people have to consume protein is in the morning. Everybody does a better job of consuming protein at nighttime. And for those of you out there that are doing intermittent fasting, we talked about this before, that'd be better for you to have some amount of protein during your fasting, quote unquote, fasting window to make sure that your body's not breaking down a lot of muscle mass during that time. And I think that is the biggest support for protein distribution throughout the day. That if you go long periods of time without consuming protein, your body starts breaking it down. So, and that's, inside of a day, every 24 hours, every person needs a similar sum of protein for themselves. So if it's not distributed throughout the day, the study suggests that you're losing um, muscle protein off your body. That's based off of those fasting studies where they had those lengthy periods of time where people were doing intermittent fasting, and the intermittent fasting group lost more skeletal muscle mass than the comparative group that just did a calorie restriction. So that's makes it seems to me to make it glaringly obvious that you still need to spread your protein intake out throughout the day. You definitely don't want to try and get it all in at once. Your body's not going to be able to utilize it all at once. And it still needs those substrates throughout the day, kind of moving through it, the GI tract appropriately. So that way you can use it for all of the muscle building action you have throughout a day. So, I don't know, just some food for thought out there. You guys thinking about kind of switching it up and moving from a fat loss phase to a maintenance phase, or maybe you're trying to go from fat loss to muscle building. I would suggest you still want to go to that maintenance phase before you
Yeah,
jump
that
over to
yeah.
muscle building.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with, especially with a lot of men. Like you kind of get into that, you read Muscle and Fitness when you're a teenager, like we did, and then you're like, cut and bulk and cut and bulk, and you just never allow yourself to just maintain for a bit, and so you're really kind of losing a lot of progress to just kind of jumping around.
Yeah, if you did some maintenance work, I feel like a lot of people would notice a lot more body changes. Like especially if you were taking progress pictures, like everybody should, some kind of way to monitor yourself as an objective measure with like picture versus picture. I realize that's a subjective how you look, but objective that you have something that's not just in your mind, it's something you can look at and see.
And it's nice to have that maintenance to know, okay, this is, the amount of activity and the amount of calories that you're taking to maintain, then it makes it very easier, like to understand, okay, this is what I need to do to cut weight, this is what I need to do to gain weight. Like, and you can start going, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be as drastic as I thought it was, because like I can maintain with this number of calories. Oh, let's just up it a little bit, or let's just increase it a little bit.
Yeah. And the greatest rate of manipulation for how your body looks is through strength training. So if you maintained your calories and weight for a long period of time, but did things differently with your strength training, you'd see a lot of changes in your body over that period of time. But either way, for those of you out there, what do you think about these new protein study things? Is this going to change the way that you consume your food throughout the day? Is there other ways that you consider getting protein in? Because maybe you've thought that you were getting enough in and you see that maybe I should get more in. Either way, let us know. franchisenf.com. Send us something through the contact us page on there, or go ahead and sign up for your free meet and greet, and let's get you started today on the plan to help you meet your goals for 2024 and beyond. By the way, like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.